International Geographic Research and Production presents Keepers of the Rainforest. Traveling through the rainforests and swamps, I was surprised at the ease with which the elephants broke branches and tree trunks clearing our path. They followed one another in an orderly and disciplined line throughout our journey. These gigantic animals may appear to be clumsy, but in reality they move swiftly and surprisingly almost noiselessly. Sitting on top of the elephant, I was grateful to the people who had advised me to choose this particular type of transportation in the jungle. The animals had not only helped us to travel through the jungle swiftly and comfortably, they also served another invaluable service. They were our bodyguards. With their help, we had avoided one of the most dangerous predators of the Sumatran jungle, the tiger. The feet of the elephant have a unique characteristic. With the increase of the weight of the load the elephant carries, they become slightly swollen and increase in size. When the load decreases, the feet decrease in size as well. Thanks to this ability, an elephant can cross stretches of swampland without getting stuck in the mire. The large flying foxes that live exclusively in the tropical rainforests appeared on the face of the earth 35 million years ago. They form colonies that number hundreds and even thousands of animals. The flying foxes spend much of their time in the treetops, hanging upside down. The animals have a certain hierarchy according to which every colony member has its own place. Unlike birds, the wings of the flying foxes have no feathers. They fly at night with the help of thin membranes that connect their paws and feet, and that from a distance do very much resemble the wings of birds. The flying foxes skillfully move among the branches, with their rear paws holding on to a branch, and while hanging upside down, they move by shifting the grip on branches with their front paws. The large eyes of the flying foxes are designed for night vision. They cannot distinguish colors, but are able to see in almost total darkness. Their sense of hearing is extraordinary, and their ears are quite mobile and able to quickly turn in the direction of the sound. The flying foxes are vegetarians feeding mainly on plants, fruit, and the nectar and pollen of flowers which they collect with their tongues. Bananas, papayas, guavas, and mangoes are some of their favorites. The animals eat the fruit right on the branch of the tree where they find them. It fills its mouth with the fruit pulp, squeezes out the juice, and spits out the rest. The flying foxes play a significant role in the pollination of certain plants and in spreading the seeds of others. They live exclusively in the trees. The destruction of the tropical rainforest threatens their very existence. We had embarked on our journey. In spite of the numerous obstacles, hanging vines, logs, wet and swampy stretches of ground, our elephants moved ahead without experiencing any significant difficulty. It was extremely hot. The dense tree crowns did not allow any wind to blow through the forest. Besides, we were constantly attacked by swarms of midges, which are usually abundant near elephants. To guide an elephant while sitting on top of it, without using any special devices just like the locals do, may seem easy at first. However, I can assure you that it is nothing of the sort. To move through dense thickets and tree blockages is a tough job that requires special skills and a great deal of training. The elephants diligently do their job because that is what they have been patiently taught to do. However, if something goes wrong, the elephant becomes completely helpless because they are unfamiliar with this kind of situation. Then it is the handler's responsibility to help the elephant through the unexpected complications. We had successfully completed the hardest part of our journey when the guides explained to us that the Kubu natives, who had never seen domesticated elephants, may get frightened if they encountered any. So I decided to part with the animals and to continue our quest for the forest people on foot. The jungle is the home of the largest flower in the world. The first man to introduce this flower to Europeans was Sir Arnold Raffles, a member of an expedition to the jungles of Sumatra, where he died of yellow fever. He had only enough time to describe for posterity this wonderful flower previously unknown to the scientific community. The flower was named Rafflesia arnaldi. It measures nearly 1 meter in diameter and can weigh up to 15 kilograms. This flower is a parasite and cannot develop on its own. It has no leaves nor stem. Instead of roots, it has sprouts that look like little mushrooms. The flowers grow on a donor plant, a liana trunk in this case. It takes 2 years for the buds to develop. When the flower appears, it gives off an odor not unlike rotten meat, which attracts flies and other insects. Coming across a campsite left behind by the forest people, I realized that we were in Rimba. That is what the Kubu call the forest where they hunt and which they rigorously protect from unwanted guests. Silent as shadows, swiftly and effortlessly, these people make their way through the jungle. When they saw our group, they were surprised and slightly alarmed. It was apparent that some of them were seeing a white man for the first time. Sensing that they might disappear any minute without receiving any explanation of the purpose of our visit, I offered them items that I knew they valued and loved, salt and tobacco. The gifts convinced the forest people that I came in peace. When they had calmed down and settled on a glade, one of the women began preparing some sort of potion. It was not hard to determine that she was making betel from the nuts of a local palm tree, betel pepper leaves, and lime. The tradition of betel chewing is widespread in Asia. The Kubu have probably borrowed the tradition from the Malayans. Betel is known to suppress hunger and also serves as a stimulant. We were allowed to watch while the Kubu built a camp. In the forest, the Kubu live in small communities, which are not families, but rather groups of people. Each camp consists of 3 to 8 buildings. The Kubu live in huts that they construct out of branches and leaves. Both men and women take part in clearing the territory for the prospective camp from plants and other obstacles. Beams that are hammered into the ground serve as the frame for the future hut. On top of the reinforced poles, they place straight branches that are cleared of knots. In this manner, a platform that stands about 40 to 50 centimeters above the ground is constructed. In the same way, the top part or the roof of the hut is made. It is then covered with wild banana leaves. For stability, tree branches are placed on top of the roof. The bottom part of the hut, the floor, is additionally reinforced by lianas and vines. The huts do not have walls and are open on all sides. Most Europeans would consider the Kubu dwellings quite primitive. However, these people lead a nomadic existence. They hunt and gather their food in the harsh conditions of the tropical rainforest, whose climate dictates its own rules. That is why these huts are light, durable, and efficient. It takes about an hour for a small group of Kubu natives to build a village of 8 huts. The children of the Kubu tribe are not brought up in our interpretation of the word, although they are always close to their parents and start to participate in the life of a tribe from an early age. Children often imitate adults in building huts, hunting, fishing, and food preparation. The tropical rainforest is the home of a large number of insects, many of which are poisonous and thus very dangerous. The forest dwellers are well aware of this fact and use their spare time to check each other for any dangerous insects. The freshwater turtle is quite common in Sumatra. It is a traditional object of hunting for the Kubu people. Kubu hunters are quite familiar with the way of life and habits of this turtle. That is why one of the hunters had no difficulty in catching one. By tapping the bottom of a stream with a spearhead, he came upon a turtle which he determined by a special sound his spear made. Without harming the turtle, the hunter has made a hole in its shell with his spearhead. He will then put a thin vine through the hole and carry the turtle to the village. Knowing that turtles can survive without food or water for a long period of time, the Kubu use them as live, tinned goods. Gathering is a task delegated to the women and children of the tribe. Using a sharpened stick or a metal knife, they collect edible sprouts, roots, nuts, fruits, and herbs. All of these items make up an important part of their diet. They also gather wild honey, various tree resins, and other forest products, which they later exchange for metal knives, cloth, salt, and tobacco.